Go.
What's up, guys? Seth here with Activated Performance. Now, you guys might be wondering why some asshole dressed like a cowboy is going to be talking to you about powerlifting, but this is what I wore today, so deal with it. Trying out some long form videos just because the problem with Instagram is that although you can make a point in 60 seconds, it's very difficult to present that point in a way that allows people to think critically about what you're saying. You can basically just say, this is what it is, not why is what it is and why you should think this way or why you should think the other way. So a question that I see getting bounced around a lot, or a point that I see getting bounced around a lot, is does technique matter? You got some people saying that it doesn't matter at all, you can get away with whatever you want to do. You have other people saying that it absolutely matters, and if you lift with shit technique, you're going to die. I think the truth is that it lies somewhere in between those two, and it's going to depend on how you're looking at it and what you mean when you say matters. So with technique, from purely just a lifting, from a moving, from a whatever standpoint, I don't think that there is necessarily such thing as a bad technique. There's no technique that is going to kill you. There's no technique that's going to make your disc explode, because your body will be able to adapt to whatever stimulus you're exposing it to if you allow the recovery to adapt to that stimulus. A round back deadlift isn't going to make you blow your discs in itself if you allow your body to adapt to it. If you're round your back in your deadlift, you do have the ability to become resilient to that rounded back position, and you can get stronger in that position. Now, where the other side comes in is that if that same lifter who's deadlifting with a round back, if they were to get into a brace neutral, if they were to lock themselves in, if they were to actually be able to use their hips instead of their low back to drive their lockout, could they deadlift more? I would argue yes, they can, and I've seen it fixed almost instantly, or I've seen technique fixes almost instantly add 50, 60 pounds to someone's deadlift just by teaching them how to use their hips to get that bar to lockout. So from a performance standpoint, yes, technique absolutely matters. Technique is going to influence how your body interacts with the weight of the bar. It's going to influence where the force in your body is transmitted. It's going to influence what is actually going to be moving the weight and taking the load. And it's going to influence how well you can move the load that's on the bar. Now with that, if a lifter, or you see so many lifters who are at a very high level that have absolute dog shit technique, that are getting away with things that make you cringe, but they're still moving a ton of weight, they're still at top of the game, they're still doing very well. Now what you gotta think about that is that they have lifted that way for such a long time, they have adapted that movement pattern, and they have been able to make the most of it. Now you gotta wonder, could they lift more if they changed their technique? Could they lift more if they took better advantage of the leverages? In some cases, I would argue yes. In other cases, I'd argue no, and you should just let them do their thing, because their thing is working so well and so well adapted to it that they are going to be successful. Prime example of this is Steve Goggins and his squat. Now, if you don't know what it looks like, just type in Goggins 1102 onto YouTube, watch that video. It's just this like disgusting narrow stance, way bent over, round back, squat morning, shaky, whatever. But dude was the first person on earth to squat 1102 with that technique. Was it worth changing for him? Of course not. He was insanely successful with it. So, technique matters to a point. Yes, changing technique can increase what you put on the bar, but in some cases, it might be better just to leave it alone. I would argue that if a lifter is in that beginner to intermediate stage, they don't need to be afraid of bad technique. They don't need to think bad technique is going to hurt them, but I think they should strive to have better technique. They should strive to optimize their leverages, because in the long term, that will probably increase their absolute ceiling of what they can move. Now, where am I going with this now? Just give me a second. Cameraman, any points you need to make?
The reset if you do change your form.
And I guess something they do need to keep in mind too, thank you cameraman, is that if a lifter is going to change their form, if they're going to alter their technique, you are going to need to take time to reacclimate to the position. You're going to need to take time to reacclimate to how your body is being loaded. You need to take time for that new adaptation to occur to allow you to be stronger in that new position. Things don't happen overnight, and yes, if you change how you're squatting, change how you're deadlifting, your leverages could improve from a purely like physics line drawing standpoint, but that doesn't mean that you're ready to actually use those leverages, and sometimes you do need to take time to build back up. And I think that's pretty much it. Technique matters depending on how you look at it. Technique doesn't matter depending on how you look at it. There is no form that's going to kill you if you allow yourself to adapt to it. So guys, have some common sense, think critically, don't be a nerd, go train. Thank you for watching. Check us out on activatedperformance.net and at activatedperformance on Instagram.